On today's show, we're going to do a deep dive on the wide receiver unit on this team because going into 2023, the biggest question in Denver is Sean Payton and Russell Wilson, right? Can Sean Payton fix Russ? That's what everyone wants to know. That is what this entire season hinges on. And I think if you want to have Russell Wilson be successful in 2023, you need to improve the offensive line, which Denver made a priority, signing Mike McGlinchey and Ben Powers, and you need to improve what's around him. And that's mostly wide receivers, which Denver used their first draft selection on, right? Marvin Mims was the first man off the board for Denver, so clearly they have done a lot to try and improve Russell Wilson's surroundings to get the most out of him and to try and sacrifice this contract. So let's spend the next 10 or so minutes really talking about this wide receiver unit because it has been a tough nut to crack for Denver. Go back to the last time or the first season after their above 500 season. That's a weird phrasing. The last time they were above 500, 2016, and their first draft following it, you can see they made it a bit of a priority, right? They went with Carlos Henderson, who never played a snap in the NFL in round 3. Isaiah McKenzie's been okay for Buffalo lately. But moving along here, round 2 in 2018, they go Courtland Sutton, right? In 2019, they go with Juwann Winfree. In 2020, they go with Tyrie Cleveland. Are you noticing a trend? Every single year, Denver has selected a wide receiver, and they have not been able to really nail it down. Courtland Sutton has been the best single-season wide receiver since 2016. The last time they were above 500, 9-8. Or, no, I guess back then would have been, how did it work before? 9-7. That's right. My brain has forgotten how pre-17-game schedule worked. But aside from that, every single year, 2020, their first 2 selections were wide receivers, Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler. 2021, Seth Williams. Last year, Montrell Washington. And then this prior draft, Marvin Mims. So Denver has been chasing good wide receiver play for quite some time, really since DT and Emmanuel Sanders. And they only have one good season to show for, and that's Courtland Sutton in 2019. Since 2016, they've only had one wide receiver go over 1,000 yards in a single season. Courtland Sutton, that breakout sophomore campaign, 6 touchdowns, 15.4 yards a pop, big play machine off 72 grabs, and they have been chasing that 1,000-yard mark since then. So are they going to get back there this year? That is the big question here, and they've got the horses to do it. Jerry Jeudy, Courtland Sutton, Tim Patrick are all players who are capable, in my eyes, of getting to 1,000 yards. So with that being said, the pinned comment on today's show is this. Will Courtland Sutton get to 1,000 yards this year? Yes or no? If YouTube sticks an ad break, scroll on down during it, let the ad roll, give us a little extra buckaroos, and give me a Y for yes or N for no. Like I said, Denver's wide receiver core this year is special in my eyes. It is the best unit on this team. Like if you were to lose one guy from a room, I'd want it to be wide receiver just because you are so deep at that position. Whereas edge rusher, the moment Baron Browning went down, Denver had to go sign Frank Clark. Like that's how unconfident they are in the rest of the edge rushers. Now, unfortunately, this unit has been plagued with an injury ever since they all got put together in 2020. Jerry Jeudy, Courtland Sutton, and Tim Patrick. This team's starting wide receivers have played a total of 2 games together out of a possible 50, right? You go back to Courtland Sutton in 2020, tears his ACL in week 2. Jerry Jeudy, he misses 6 games his rookie year. Tim Patrick missed all of last season. So unfortunately, they have not been very available and coinciding and playing a lot of football together. Courtland Sutton, unfortunately, has had 2 different careers, pre-ACL and post-ACL. Pre-ACL, very promising start to his NFL career. 1,800 yards and 10 touchdowns in 33 games. But unfortunately, ever since that game in Pittsburgh, things have not been the same. It's a big-time bummer. He's played in just the same amount of games, 32 games, but the yards are down, the touchdowns are way down, the receptions are slightly up with fewer targets, but Courtland Sutton has just not been the same player since that ACL tear. 3 years removed now, and this is a make-or-break season for Courtland Sutton, right? First year back from an ACL tear, you get some leeway, right? You get a little bit of an extra long leash. But 3 years back, it is put up or shut up, right? It is make or break for Courtland Sutton, and there needs to be a big resurgence from him. Now, let's talk about Jerry Jeudy here, because he is this team's wide receiver one with the way he ended last year. Has yet to get to 1,000 yards. The drops have been frustrating. That is the biggest knock against him, because when he's healthy, his elusive burst, speed, and quickness. I mean, a lot of times you see wide receivers have a great 40-yard speed, right? Where once they get going, there's no slowing down. But they don't have that great 15-yard speed where they can stop on a dime. Jeudy has both. That's what makes him one of the best route runners in the NFL. He just needs to get some glue on his hands and learn how to hold on to the football a little bit better, which he started to do at the end of last season. Look at the way he ended last year. The last 6 weeks, 523 yards, had a hat trick against the Chiefs. Russell Wilson doesn't get hurt that game. The streak might be over. I'm just going to say it. So for Jeudy, it's about putting it together. Now, Jeff Legwold from ESPN had a fantastic write-up about this, and I wanted to share a little bit with you guys. Opposing defensive coaches often tell their defensive backs to try to rattle Jeudy, get physical, tug a jersey, verbally engage him. It has worked at times, and Jeudy has had heated exchanges with officials and opponents alike when things didn't go well, often at the expense of his own production in an already bulky offense. The fifth-year option has been picked up for Jerry Jeudy, so I don't think it's a make-or-break season in 2023 for him. He'll be on this team in 2024 unless he's traded. And maybe that happens, but that's for another video. But for now, what's at stake for Jeudy is a big fat contract extension, right? He is eligible to sign an extension. After 3 years, you can ink a big deal. And that's what's on the line here. Because if Jerry Jeudy starts the year off on a hot streak, I'm talking, it is trade deadline and he's got 700 yards and 7 touchdowns, something ridiculous like that. We saw George Paton ink a contract extension with Courtland Sutton and Tim Patrick in November of 2021. He could be doing the same with Jerry Jeudy if he gets off to a blazing hot start and Denver saves some money for what Jeudy could get on the open market. So that is definitely a possibility if Jeudy puts it all together in year number 4. Now, before we get on to the rest of the wide receiver room here, we're doing a July sub battle with our Chiefs channel at Chat Sports. It's not going swimmingly well. I'm not going to lie to you guys. They've got a slight lead. I don't like that. I don't one bit. I sit kitty corner from our Chiefs host here at Chat Sports, Harrison Graham. And he's not like a in-your-face kind of guy, but you're ever one of those guys who always finds a way to subtly bring it up in conversation? That's what Harry's like. So if you want to help me take down the Chiefs channel here in the walls of Chat Sports before we take him down on the field before the season starts or once the season starts, hit that sub button down below and lock yourself in for free Broncos coverage. Now we talk about Tim Patrick here, the third wide receiver who unfortunately missed all of last season with an ACL tear, as we know, but the guy has been super consistent the 2 prior seasons, right? 2 straight years of over 700 yards, 11 touchdowns, which those aren't eye-popping numbers, but for 50 grabs, not a whole lot of targets, like his role in the offense with more targets and more receptions, he can get a whole lot more production in. Now, the big question for Patrick is, how will he rebound after tearing his ACL? I looked at some recent notable wide receivers and their first seasons after tearing their ACL. It's not great. Michael Gallup, after tearing his ACL, 424 yards and 4 touchdowns last year. Robert Woods last year for the Titans, not much better than Gallup. Odell Beckham Jr. coming back. This was his first ACL tear between playing time with the Browns and the Rams. Great in the postseason, but in the regular season, not the kind of numbers you expect from OBJ. The only outlier was Chris Godwin, who had a miraculous recovery. I mean, he tore his ACL in December 2021, and he put up 1,000 yards starting the season like 6-7 months later. So Chris Godwin was the only one that jumped out here as someone who rebounded well after an ACL tear. Now, the good news is Tim Patrick tore his ACL in August. All those other guys tore their ACLs in the regular season. So if it takes a full 12 months to recover, Tim Patrick should be ready to go August of 2023. Whereas those guys had ACL tears ranging from October to December, so their 12-month recovery had them still a little bit slow to start the season. So fingers crossed that Patrick will come back and he will be 100% week 1. Maybe not 100%, but 90%. And by the time we get into week 3 and week 4, then he's ramped back up to 100%. So let me know who you think the leading wide receiver will be in the comments section. Type the initials for the player you think will end up being the wide receiver 1, because you can make solid arguments for all 3 of these guys. Jerry Jeudy has the highest ceiling in my book. Courtland Sutton is the only proven player of this bunch. He's the only guy that's gone over 1,000 yards. And Tim Patrick, the glue guy, as I like to call him, he's a sleeper. But I feel like in a Sean Payton offense with a Michael Thomas type role, Tim Patrick might step into that role quite nicely. So you can make good arguments for all 3. Let me know who you think ends up being the leading wide receiver. Time for some summer hot takes here as we get ourselves closer and closer to training camp. We're filming today's show during our live show on Tuesday. So weatherman said it'll be 81 degrees today. And that gets us into that warm plate take where, you know, the waiter brings out your food. It's like, plate's a little bit hot. Slow down. Don't touch it just yet. So my warm plate take is this. Jerry Jeudy finishes the season as the second best wide receiver in the AFC West behind Davante Adams. Travis Kelce is a tight end. He's basically a wide receiver, but for my argument, to fit my narrative, he's a tight end. Kansas City has dog shit wide receivers. And that's okay because Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce can do it all themselves. But there's no one from Kansas City I think is a better wide receiver than Jerry Jeudy. Now, there is a guy named Mike Williams and Keenan Allen in L.A., but they're getting a bit old, and they've never been super reliable to play a full season. So that's my warm plate take. Is at the end of the year, Jeudy will be perceived as a better wide receiver than Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. He'll be behind Davante Adams, which there's no knock against that. Davante Adams is generational. So that is my warm plate take. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like today's video, make sure to like it. Literally helps the YouTube algorithm out. Leave a comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys later.